Hey everyone, and welcome back. If you're listening, you're probably already thinking about where DeFi is going, like what's going to be huge in 2025, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that's exactly what we're diving into today.
Buckle up. We're going to be talking AI. We're going to be talking those big banks all getting in on the DeFi action.
It's pretty crazy to see how DeFi is becoming more and more mainstream, like not just a thing for the crypto experts anymore.
It's true. Okay, so let's jump into it. We've got to talk about layer twos. Those are exploding right now. And anyone who's been following Ethereum knows it's been having some issues lately. Like when things get busy, the network gets clogged and fees go way up.
Right, exactly. Those base blockchains, they're super important, but they're kind of limited. Like how many transactions they can handle at once. Like picture a highway at rush hour, packed with cars. It's kind of like that.
So layer twos, it's like they're building express lanes on that highway. They make things run smoother and way cheaper. And this isn't just like theoretical. We're talking about Polygon and Optimism. They're already giants in the DeFi space.
Yeah, and they offer a much better experience, like it's actually usable.
For sure.
And the data really shows that too. Like we've seen a 70% increase in transactions on layer twos just this past year.
Wow, 70%. That's massive.
It is. And it's really interesting. It kind of looks like people are starting to ditch those layer one blockchains because of all the congestion and those crazy fees. Like if that trend keeps going, it's going to have a huge impact on which blockchains end up dominating the future.
So it's not just about convenience, it's about finding the blockchains that can handle what DeFi is going to become, right?
Exactly. And speaking of the future, we can't ignore AI.
Oh, this is where things get really cool.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like imagine algorithms helping you make smarter decisions with your investments, all without like giving up control, that decentralized part. That's what AI is bringing to DeFi.
It's not sci-fi anymore. It's happening.
For real.
So there's AI being used to optimize those yield farming strategies. It's like the AI looks at all this data, figures out the absolute best ways to put your assets into different liquidity pools, and helps you get those maximum returns.
That sounds almost too good to be true.
Right. And then on top of that, it can help manage risk and even offer some personalized financial advice.
So instead of just chasing the highest yields, AI could help you balance the risk and the reward, maybe even personalize your whole strategy based on your own goals.
Exactly. And this is actually making a real impact. One project that launched in late 2024, they used AI for asset management, and their user base just blew up, like 150% increase.
150%. That's insane.
It is. It shows that people are really starting to see the value here.
For someone like me, I'm still trying to wrap my head around yield farming, so this is both exciting and a little scary.
I get it. But it's something to watch closely for sure. The platforms that are using AI for predictions and automated trading, those could be the key to staying ahead of the curve in DeFi.
Makes sense. Okay, so I've got to ask about the big institutions. The banks, are they just watching all of this happen?
It's funny you should ask that, because at first they were pretty skeptical, but now banks are actually starting to realize how powerful DeFi is.
Really?
Yeah, they're seeing how it could even make their current services better, maybe even change how they do business entirely.
So even the old guard is getting in on this. What's the big attraction? What are they seeing?
Well, we're already seeing banks trying out blockchain-based loans. It's basically taking what DeFi is already doing and bringing it into the traditional banking world. They're also looking at blockchain-based cross-border payments to make international transactions faster and cheaper.
So they're basically taking the best parts of DeFi and trying to work them into their own systems?
Precisely. Some analysts even think that by the end of 2025, over 40% of major financial institutions are going to be using some kind of DeFi tech.
Wow, that's a huge change. DeFi is really becoming more mature, moving beyond just those early adopters.
Definitely, and we're just getting started. One of the things DeFi has always struggled with is that it's felt kind of separated. Like you're usually limited to just one blockchain ecosystem.
So you're stuck on one island and can't really explore the rest of the DeFi world. Is that what you mean?
That's a great way to put it. And that's where this idea of cross-chain compatibility comes in. It's about building those bridges between the different blockchains, making it super easy to interact and move your assets around. And that is going to be huge G. Welcome back to our deep dive into all things DeFi in 2025.
So we've talked about some really big changes already, but what else is coming?
Well, in this part, we're going to shift gears a bit and focus on how DeFi is becoming easier to use. Like accessible to everyone, even if you're not a total blockchain whiz.
I like the sound of that, to be honest. Some of these DeFi platforms have felt a bit intimidating.
I get it. It's a common feeling. And one of the trends that's really helping with that is the rise of DeFi aggregators.
DeFi aggregators, what are those?
Think of them like your one-stop shop for DeFi.
Okay, I like that. So it's like they pull together all the different pieces of the DeFi puzzle.
You got it. Instead of having to switch between like a million different platforms and wallets, a DeFi aggregator lets you manage everything from one place, like a dashboard. Trading, lending, yield farming, it's all there.
So for someone like me who's still learning the ropes, that would be a game changer instead of getting lost in all the different protocols.
Exactly. It makes things so much easier. You can compare rates from different protocols, find the best opportunities, and do your transactions, all without having to deal with the technical stuff.
That's amazing. It could really open up DeFi to a lot of people who are interested but just haven't jumped in because it all seems too complicated.
I think so too. And as these aggregators get better, they're becoming even smarter. Like some are using algorithms to offer personalized recommendations and automated portfolio management.
So it's not just about convenience. It's about using technology to make better decisions and manage risk.
Exactly. And this focus on user experience goes beyond just the aggregators. We're seeing a lot more DeFi platforms that are really focused on making their design and interfaces user-friendly.
Makes sense. I've definitely seen platforms that look like they were built by engineers for engineers, not exactly user-friendly.
Right, but now developers are really prioritizing things like clear navigation, intuitive design, and good tutorials to make the whole experience smoother.
It's like the difference between trying to figure out some crazy software with a terrible manual and having a step-by-step video that shows you exactly what to do.
Exactly. And that's super important for bringing new users to DeFi. If it's too hard to use, people are just going to give up.
Yeah, user experience is key. And what about mobile? It seems like a lot of DeFi platforms have been mostly desktop-based.
True, but that's changing quickly. There are a ton of new DeFi apps designed specifically for mobile.
So you can manage your investments, trade, lend, borrow, all from your phone.
That's the idea. It's all about convenience and accessibility. And it opens up DeFi to a whole new group of people, the ones who do everything on their phones.
That's huge. It seems like all these trends are pushing DeFi towards becoming mainstream. But with all this focus on making things easier to use, is it possible to do that without sacrificing security?
That's a great question, and it's definitely something developers are taking very seriously. Because as you know, security has been a big concern in DeFi.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen some pretty big hacks and those rug pulls that have made people a little nervous.
Right. But the good news is there are a lot of new security solutions that are being developed, and they don't make things harder to use. Like think about more secure wallets that use biometrics, like your fingerprint or face scan.
So instead of remembering those long seed phrases, you could just use your fingerprint to access your wallet. That's a great example of how security can be better without sacrificing usability.
Exactly. And developers are also working on ways to make interacting with smart contracts simpler.
I was just thinking about that. Smart contracts are so powerful, but trying to understand how they work and how to use them safely can be really intimidating.
Right. So they're creating tools that let you use them in a more intuitive way without needing to know all the technical details behind them.
So you still get all the benefits of smart contracts, but without needing to become a blockchain expert.
You got it. It seems like we're moving towards a future where DeFi is not only more accessible, but also way more secure.
I love it. But there must still be some challenges to overcome.
Of course, there are always challenges. One of the biggest ones is scalability. As DeFi grows and gets more users, those blockchains need to be able to handle all the traffic and transactions.
We talk about layer 2s as one solution, but are there other things being developed?
Definitely. Developers are always working on new things, like sharding, which basically breaks the blockchain into smaller, more manageable pieces. And then there are new consensus mechanisms that can process transactions much more efficiently.
So it's an area where there's constant research and innovation. It sounds like finding solutions to scalability is really important for the future of DeFi.
It really is. And then there's the whole issue of regulation. Governments are still figuring out how they want to approach DeFi.
It's a tricky situation, right? You want to encourage innovation and growth, but you also need to protect people and prevent bad stuff from happening.
Exactly. And the regulations are still changing, so it'll be interesting to see how that impacts DeFi.
For sure. And one last thing, what about education? It seems like a lot of people still aren't really familiar with DeFi and how it all works.
Absolutely, that's true. There's a huge need for more education and resources to help people understand DeFi and how to participate safely.
I think that's so important. DeFi can be such a powerful tool for giving people more control over their finances. but they need to have the knowledge and the resources to use it effectively.
I totally agree. As DeFi grows and becomes more mainstream, education is going to be key, both for getting more people involved and for making sure DeFi succeeds in the long run.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into what's going to be huge GE in DeFi in 2025. We've covered so much, those layer 2 solutions, the crazy ways AI is getting involved, and how DeFi is becoming so much easier for anyone to use.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
It has. So as we wrap up, I think it's time to zoom out a little. Like, what does all this mean for the future? Not just for DeFi, but for anyone who's interested in this stuff.
You're right. It's time for the big picture. Like, okay, we've talked about what's happening, but so what? What does the future of DeFi actually look like?
Exactly. And what kind of impact could it have on, someone like me?
Well, one of the biggest takeaways here is that DeFi is not just some experiment anymore. It's becoming mainstream.
You can really see that with the big institutions getting involved. Even the banks are starting to dip their toes in. And more people are seeing the potential.
Yeah, it's a huge shift. It's like we're changing how we think about money and finance. DeFi is challenging those old systems and giving people more control over their own finances.
It feels like it's about making finance more open, more transparent, and accessible to everyone, not just like the select few.
Exactly. And as DeFi grows up, we're going to see even more innovation. We've talked about some pretty amazing possibilities, but honestly, we're just getting started.
It's interesting because I think DeFi can go beyond just recreating those traditional financial services in a decentralized way. Like, it could create something totally new.
Or absolutely. One area where DeFi could have a massive impact is financial inclusion, by giving people who've been shut out of traditional systems access to financial services. DeFi could empower people and communities all over the world.
Imagine anyone, anywhere, no matter their background, could access affordable loans, participate in global markets, build a better financial future. That's incredible.
It is. And it's not just about individuals either. DeFi can change how businesses operate too. Peer-to-peer transactions, those automated contracts, transparent supply chains. It could make so many things more efficient, cut costs, and build more trust.
It sounds like DeFi could create a more efficient and fair global economy where everyone has a chance to succeed.
I think it has that potential, but we have to be realistic about the challenges too. We talked about scalability, security, regulation. Those are still hurdles.
That's true. And for anyone thinking about getting into DeFi, it's important to do your research, understand the risks, and be careful. But the potential rewards are definitely worth considering.
So where does this leave you? I think the main takeaway is that you can't ignore DeFi anymore. It's evolving so fast, and it has the power to completely reshape finance.
Whether you're already an investor, just curious about DeFi, or someone who's thinking about the future of finance, now is the time to explore DeFi and see what it's all about.
This deep dive has given you a great foundation, the key trends that are going to shape DeFi in 2025. But this is just the beginning. The DeFi revolution is happening, and the future is full of potential.
Absolutely. And before we go, I want to leave you with a question to think about. How do you see DeFi changing your financial life in the next few years? What excites you the most about the possibilities of decentralized finance?
Keep learning, stay informed, and maybe even consider becoming part of this movement. The future of finance is decentralized, and it's waiting for you